Hi, my name is Ruth, and I'm a member of the Tisdale Suicide Awareness Committee. This presentation is designed to create awareness about suicide and start the discussion of how Tisdale can become a safer and supportive community. Even though the topic of suicide is uncomfortable, we feel it's an important issue to talk about. After all, suicide affects everyone. Most of all, we want you to know that Tisdale is not alone. To start, please take a moment to consider these thoughts. How often do we give ourselves this advice? A lot of us tend to think keeping our emotions hidden is a sign of strength. Keep calm and carry on, right? But what happens if you can't keep going anymore? Your physical health is suffering. You are so angry or so sad that you're unable to cope with day-to-day life. Life seems so much better through the bottom of a bottle or with the help of drugs. There is no joy in life anymore. You're constantly fighting with your spouse. Death seems like a better option than living. There is certainly no shame in asking for help. No one should have to feel that they are alone. As concerned community members in Tisdale, we've been asking ourselves these questions. Truth is, we all have different attitudes about suicide. It's important to recognize what your attitudes are and just how it affects your ability to ask for help or to help someone else. The impact of suicide on our community is just too great not to talk about it. The Tisdale Suicide Awareness Committee is made up of a variety of community members. We started meeting in December of 2012 in response to an increased number of suicides and suicidal ideation in the community of Tisdale and surrounding area over the last 2 to 3 years. We came together in hopes that we could engage the community in taking positive steps to ensuring that people in Tisdale do not feel alone. That by reducing the stigma, people are allowed to talk about suicide and not feel ashamed to ask for help. Our community realizes the burden of suicide and that their desire to keep someone safe becomes more important than the fear of getting involved. That people know where they can go for help. When we say increased numbers of suicide and suicide ideation, what do we mean? Here are some statistics to help give context to the issue of suicide. This graph identifies number of suicides in Canada according to the age groups gathered by Statistics Canada in 2009. Furthermore, the national statistics tell us suicide rates among males was 3 times higher than females. Every age group reported rates of suicide from 10 to over 90 years of age. Suicide was the second leading cause of death among people aged 15 to 34, behind accidental deaths. However, the age group with the highest rate of suicide was 40 to 59 years of age. Suicide rates tended to be higher among those who were single, divorced, or widowed than married. In 2005, it was estimated that 1 in 20 Canadians reported thoughts of suicide. An important aspect to remember when analyzing suicide rates and rates of suicidal ideation is that these are only the numbers that are reported. I think it's safe to guess that the numbers are even greater. In terms of local statistics, these are the numbers of intakes through Kelsey Trail Health Region Services in Tisdale between January 2008 and March 2013 for suicidal ideation, attempts, and completions. Important again to note, these are only statistics gathered from those individuals who are known to our health region and came to Tisdale Hospital. It is likely that there are more people in our community who are having suicidal thoughts or who have attempted suicide and not sought help from healthcare professionals. The statistics on suicidal ideation, though concerning, are also positive, in that individuals having thoughts of suicide are accessing professional help in our community. To offer a full picture, we felt it was important to gather local statistics from the same time period on rates of self-harm, which includes but is not limited to cutting and self-inflicted injuries, substance abuse, and severe depression or bipolar disorder. Again, these statistics represent those individuals receiving health services in Tisdale. These issues can certainly contribute to suicidal ideation, but may not be reported as such in our statistics. Please note, not all cases of self-harm, substance abuse, or even severe depression and bipolar disorder involve thoughts of suicide, but these individuals may be at greater risk. This graph illustrates the number of times a person was admitted to Kelsey Trail Health Region Services in Tisdale seeking support with severe depression, bipolar disorder between January 2008 and March 2013. The highest number of individuals accessing services were between the ages of 40 and 49. Part of the reason for bringing awareness to the issue of suicide in our community is to dispel some of the myths about suicide that may prevent someone from asking for help or prevent someone from providing help. A common mistake people make is they think a referral from a doctor or other professional is needed in order to see a counselor, when in fact, anyone can call or walk in and make an appointment to see a counselor through mental health services with the Kelsey Trail Health Region at no cost. Another option is employee health plans may include counseling services through contracted private counselors at no cost or a reduced cost. Another misconception is that talking about suicide will give someone the idea. In fact, talking about suicide as a community reduces the stigma and shame that often prevent individuals from asking for help. Talking to someone who is having thoughts of suicide shows them that someone cares and wants to help. Even though talking about suicide can make us uncomfortable, it could save a life. Another common misconception is that if someone wants to commit suicide, there is no stopping them. The reality is that in most cases, even though someone has many reasons for wanting to die, they also have at least one reason to live. They are likely feeling overwhelmed with pain, hopelessness, and desperation, and suicide can seem like the only option. Accessing help can provide other options for how things can get better. At times, we think there are no signs that alert us to the fact that someone is thinking about suicide. The truth is, there are always signs, but they are not necessarily clear or obvious signs. Learning to recognize the signs and not being afraid to reach out to someone you may suspect is struggling with thoughts of suicide can save a life. Given what we have just covered, where do we go from here? The Tisdale Awareness Committee has been concentrating on the following: meeting regularly as a committee, looking at local statistics and trends, identifying current suicide awareness resources in the community, brainstorming ideas on how to raise awareness, educating ourselves with Safe Talk and Assist, making use of social media such as Twitter, and distributing information, posters, and pamphlets. We've organized an awareness barbecue and walk marking World Suicide Prevention Day on September 10th. We signed a proclamation with the town of Tisdale naming September 10th, Tisdale is Not Alone Day, and presenting the slideshow to service groups, businesses, and members of the community. The following are goals as we move ahead. By bringing awareness to the entire community, it is our hope to reduce the stigma around suicide and encourage people to talk without shame. We want to make sure everyone knows how to access help. We want community members to recognize the signs and feel confident in knowing how to get someone the help they need. We want to find ways we can support families that have been directly impacted by suicide, as we feel this has been a gap identified in our community. Here's what you can do. Start the conversation. Don't be afraid to talk about suicide and what we can do as a community and as individuals to prevent it. Get informed on how to recognize the signs that someone may be thinking about suicide and how to link them to someone who can help. There are Safe Talk courses offered in Tisdale and other locations in the Northeast. These courses are 3 hours long, cost only $20, and include an information booklet. There is also a 2-day training on how to do a suicide intervention called Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training, or ASSIST. This training takes 15 hours, has a resource manual, and costs $250. After taking this course, you will feel ready and willing to help. Working together to prevent suicide makes for a safer and healthier community. Tisdale is not alone.